Hey guys, welcome to what episode is this, Lorenzo? Is this our fifth?
Number 5, yes.
Number 5. That's amazing. So welcome to the fifth episode. And really, I should just mention this up front is that when we start whenever I'm at least working on this, I'm sure Lorenzo feels the same way. I sometimes feel like, oh, this is going to get so boring because I'm going to come up with the same insights, the same kind of ideas. And surprisingly, at least so far, every time I kind of go down the I actually find a new rabbit hole, and we are able to explore ideas that we've actually not even thought about. Completely new ideas even to us, and it's really fascinating. And so hopefully you'll continue enjoying the variety that we bring. And of course, obviously over time, certain themes will emerge, and that's good. Themes are important. As a CRO, I'm trying to do both things, right? I'm trying to be a pioneer, but I'm also trying to survive, right? And if you're always a pioneer, always looking for ideas that have never been done before, well, there are only so many that can be done. So we are trying to find new ideas, but we're also trying to really play on some very known buyer psychology, or maybe some very known effects of buyer psychology, or in Lorenzo's case, reviews mining. So with that said, I'm going to start off. Again, we are talking about another incredible online business. They have grown dramatically over the last couple of years. It's a very different type of business from the episodes we've done previously. And this is by design from our perspective, because we're trying to demonstrate that the process that we are talking about applies across all different types of verticals. In fact, I would argue that the same principles apply to B2B as well. So maybe in a future episode, Lorenzo, we can even apply these principles to a pure B2B type business. Sorry, were you saying something?
No. I was gonna say it would be super fun to do it for B2B as well, to show again that it could be done for any business. I think it would be fun to do it for an offline business as well.
Absolutely. So just to give you so let's talk about a little bit, since you guys haven't looked at the product probably as much as we have. So CrossNet is a sport. If you look at the product on the left, it looks like volleyball. It is a hybrid sport, and and it's a very different psychology when you get to hybrid sports. I mean, I have never played it, and up until maybe a year ago, when I started, before a year ago, I had never even heard about it. Lorenzo, I'm assuming you also had not heard about it,
No, not really.
Before Chris, became something that we would see on LinkedIn, right, and Twitter. So what you can see from, I'm just going to give you a little orientation of the page. What you can see from the images is that, over here, they've got younger adults over here. They've got people in the beach. They've got kids in the backyard. Again, action shots over here. They're showing the equipment. So just by looking at this, you can get a feel for who they're trying to talk to, what kind of, indoor, outdoor, stuff like that. Their description also kind of just talks about the fact that the world's first 4-square volleyball game, set up within minutes in sand, grass, and indoors. So clearly the quick setup, at least from the retailer's perspective, is something that they feel is an important setting point. They have a nice number of reviews, really good star rating. The price point is, it seems fairly inexpensive for a team sport. They also have this payment breakdown option, which is great. They talk about their warranty, good social proof. They talk about their 24-hour shipping. They talk about customer service. I think this is really important when you think about the psychology of someone. I mean, I'm assuming, and we'll get into this later on, but a large number of people that are buying this probably aren't experts in the sport. It's not like basketball, which means that they're going to have questions. And so, bringing to attention the fact that that we'll talk to you, because they might not even know how to set it up. Actually, I mean, in this picture, the setup looks pretty complicated, even though they're saying this can be done in minutes. I don't understand why there's so many questions I have. So it makes sense that the customer service is something that they should be drawing attention to. Again, over here we have 4-square volleyball, again showing their highlights over here, and then over here they have this animated video loop where they kind of show. I mean, there are issues here as well, but where the basic idea is that it's kind of showing the basic setup, and then it kind of talks about how the kids decide on where who stops where. And then what they've got is it's a clever UI thing where if you click on this, then it shows the second part of it. So it's kind of like written explanation for the sport, and then also with corresponding video content. And then they talk about what all you need. And then they talk about the key features. Again, I don't think this, I think from their perspective and I, their whole idea is that it's a fairly simple setup. It's a fairly simple purchase. And they really want to kind of like just get out of the way and show some images. Again, here they're showing kids on the indoors, and they talk about their bundles, and then they talk about their reviews. And so that's their whole approach for setting the product. And so now that we've given you that context, I want to actually, Lorenzo, did you want to add something at this point, or did I miss something?
No, I'm just excited to get into the insights, man.
Okay, so now that hopefully all of this made sense. What's really beautiful about it is I actually posted about this on LinkedIn 6 months ago when I said that there are some products out there that don't need a description. And I actually pointed to CrossNet as an example, because to me, just the image explains to me what the product does. I mean, but actually, I've actually now changed my view on it because I'm working on this project with Lorenzo. I actually realized that there is so much more that we can cover. And the thing about conversion optimization is that, remember, there are different types of buyers. It's not like one type of buyer is coming to this page. And so, yes, there is no doubt that majority of their sales are happening from people, at least my speculation is, people who've either played CrossNet through a friend of theirs and said, hey, I want to have this myself, or people that have maybe seen a social media video where they kind of show the sport and they're like, it's obvious what the sport is. And they look at the price point and they say, boom, I'm sold. And we're not at all taking away from that customer group. That's how these guys are making money. We're arguing that there are these hidden groups that are actually discovering it by the same mechanism, but potentially not buying. And so we're going to explore some of that in our analysis today. So let me kind of talk about what I've kind of, the things that I've zeroed in on. So in this episode, what I'm going to talk about is one of the, and Lorenzo, by all means, do stop me if you want to kind of add some context or you want to challenge me on some of these things, because we haven't prepared for, like, we're just kind of putting together ideas and then presenting
completely separately, right? Like
completely separately.
100% independent. You do your analysis, you come up with your many insights, your ideas, and I do the same. And we just say, okay, here's the product that we want to focus on. That's it. Let's go. Let's roll.
That's exactly right. So for this episode, I'm going to actually focus in on a topic that I haven't discussed previously in the show, but some of you might know this, but I'm kind of a little bit opposed to user research, which is the reason why actually doing the show with Lorenzo is so much fun for me, because he's all into user research and we make a great partnership from that perspective. But the question then becomes is that, okay, Rishi, if you're not doing user research and you're not doing UI and UX based CRO and you're doing copywriting, how the hell do you know how to write copy? And so I'm going to talk to you about a process that we use. It's to kind of get into the mind of the buyer. It's full of flaws. The idea is not to be perfect, but we are trying to kind of make some guesses. And this is the key thing about any kind of copywriting, is that you need to first understand your buyer, which is why people do research. And my point is, and I hope to demonstrate that in this episode, is that you can make some really good educated guesses about the buyer without doing any research. So I didn't read any reviews.
Or with just a Google research.
Yes, that's right. Exactly right. And to some extent, I feel like, I think that maybe I might be doing a little bit of like false marketing when I say I don't do user research, because people might misunderstand that to mean that I don't do any research. I do research, but I don't do the traditional user research of looking at, chat logs and stuff like that. So what we do is we break it down into two categories of guesses: obvious guesses and creative guesses. And what you'll find is that it, like with anything in life, it leads to some really interesting insights. So the first obvious guess that I had was they like group activities. Now, let me tell you why this is obvious. this is a sport that you can, and they mention that in the product page. They say you need 4+ players, which means they're making it absolutely clear if Lorenzo, me, and one other person want to play it, you're out of luck. It's not for that. Or if it's like chess, if Lorenzo and I want to play together, that's just not an option. So it's obvious that anyone who's buying this product likes a group activity. But on the surface, that seems like, okay, well, Rishi, this is what you're presenting to us. But what you will be amazed at is what the related insights are based on that obvious guess. Because the way this is the rabbit hole that I went into, you might go into a different direction. But because they like group activities, it kind of gave me this insight to think about the science of happiness. Because, happiness is a function of how we feel and in ourselves and in a group. And usually people that like to do group activities feel a sense of happiness because they are doing a group activity. That's why we do it. So I found a very simple research article over here that talks about 7th and 8th graders. And it says basically those who participate in team sports rated both life and satisfaction and physical health are more highly than peers who did not participate in team sports. Now, this is just one report I put together in 5 seconds, 5 minutes of a Google search. It might not even be totally on brand for them. But my point is that this topic over here is something that I would do extensive Google search on to build a reinforcing argument. So the basic idea here is that we've made a guess about the buyer, and we've then found a correlated aspect of that attribute, and now we're building reinforcing arguments for that point. Lorenzo, I should stop here for a second and say, I mean, is it making sense?
100%. And you and I have completely different approaches, but oftentimes, I would say a lot of times, we found, I would say, conclusion in different ways, but the same conclusion. In fact, if you go into my reviews mining document, there's a section called benefits. And in this tab, in this section, basically I highlighted all the different end benefits that people have mentioned that they got from playing CrossNet. And I want to mention 2 things that are related to what you just said. The first one is, oh, this game is so much fun, right? Fun equals happiness. The other thing I wanted to mention is, where is it? We laughed and smiled a lot. Again, kind of like a similar conclusion, like the happiness. But this is like, okay, the people talking about, oh my God, we laughed and had a great time and smiled a lot, especially like around family and friends and so on. So kind of like tied it in with what you just said.
No, that's really, and by the way, I'm seeing this for the first time. And I really think that the creativity is in being able to, it's almost like we are kind of investigative journalists. We are trying to find the money trail of this corporation. And it's just the ability to connect this. I would say that the part that I don't know how to teach someone is how to connect this with this. I think there is some creativity involved. I don't know what it is, and I don't know why I thought about science of happiness, but and this is why I think a lot of people would dismiss this and they would say this is so obvious. And this is the mistake we make, is that the obvious things are the things where you need to start, and it leads to some really interesting insights. Another obvious guess is that they like competitive sports. And again, why do I know this? I know this because CrossNet is a point scoring sport. It's unlike, something else where I guess all sports are point scoring, but CrossNet specifically is a point scoring game, which means that someone who doesn't like that competitive nature would not play. It doesn't make any sense. Now I want to draw a distinction between being competitive where they want to dominate people and that's all they care about, and we're just using that in a general term, but the fact is that they like competitive sports. Again, what kind of insights can this lead to? And I think this is the point over here. So I don't know the mindset of someone who likes competitive sports, but I want to get into their mind because I want to write copy that will connect with them. So what I did was I Googled why do people like competitive sports? And by the way, this is something that I think more copywriters need to do is, we have this incredible tool of Google, and they have every question you can think of. There are hundreds of scientists, and I like to focus on the research by scientists primarily because I think it creates the most compelling arguments for the buyer. So there are lots of people, and it doesn't have to be just scientists. It could be a journalist, it could be a coach. It doesn't matter, but some figure of authority has probably written about this pretty comprehensively. And I found some really interesting content. And so what I wanted to stop over here, but I realized that, what, I want the readers to, or the listeners to actually be able to see how we actually construct copy. So I'm going to just read out what I came up with. This is very crude copy. Typically we update copy 20 times, but this is what I have for you guys right now, because you guys are part of our kind of think tank. So it says, the great thing about sport is that it allows us to keep score and improve. When we do well, we're thinking of doing even better, pushing the limits of our personal performance. So what I'm trying to do over here is I'm actually trying to reflect back to the person who's buying the narrative that's in their mind. People who like competitive sports like the fact that you can keep score, I can be better than Lorenzo. So I'm just reflecting this back to them, to activate their mirror neurons. And then I see over here, when our bodies don't match our mental expectations, we replay the game in our minds to understand the game and return to the game and apply those integrated knowledge. I'm not at all convinced that this is great copy, but I'm trying to write copy in a way where the person says, yeah, that is why I like sports. I like sports because my dad tells me this all the time. He says, he loves golf because when he finishes the game of golf at night, he actually plays the game back in his mind. And that's the part he really enjoys, because then when he goes and plays golf again, he's able to. So I know that's something that he enjoys. I'm assuming a lot of athletes do it. In fact, I was been watching the Olympics, and I noticed for most of the sports, like especially for the downhill skiing, the athlete, before they do it, they actually close their eyes and they're kind of doing, and I was like, what the hell are they doing? And I realized that they were actually doing in their mind, they were actually going down that hill. So I figured that's something that most people who like competitive sports kind of do. And so I wanted to use this copy over here.
By the way, Rishi, I think we should do an entire episode, not the next one, but in the next ones, all dedicated to, because you came up with these 2 points based on your Google research approach. But I actually think that that's the output, I would say. What you have gone through is like a kind of like a list of questions that you ask yourself before getting to that output, right?
This is true.
So I think we should have, because I really want to, kind of like show people the way we think about solving problems, starting from the beginning, right? Like, you created like these potential, kind of 2 points, again, not based on research, but stuff that are out there in the market.
And I should say not based on traditional research,
right?
But I think the point I'm trying to draw, you're absolutely right. I mean, I didn't talk about the questions that I kind of went through in my mind.
Yep.
And this is one of the challenges, is that, because I'm like almost like a musician who's learned to play a musical instrument without ever being formally trained. I actually don't know how my brain thinks of these questions, but I think I should slow down and start making notice in these questions, because I think that would be very useful for some of the people that are listening to understand, because otherwise it'll be like, okay, we know how you got to the outcome and we like the outcome, but how the hell did you get there? I don't know how to get there. And I see your point.
Yep.
The thing I want to also talk about over here as well, and this is, and you'll notice in my document, I've actually crossed out a few ideas. So one of the other obvious guesses that I made was that, and I'll just read this out. It says they have a large sportsy social circle. So I use the word sportsy intentionally because it's not just a social circle, but it's people who like sports, which is a little different than some of these points over here. And I decided to actually not explore this. And I think this is something that we have to talk about, because every choice has a calorie-based cost. If I wanted to go down this road,
the best way to explain it is like opportunity cost, right?
There's exactly right. There's an opportunity cost. And so one of the things that you're doing as a CRO, and we talked about this in the last episode as well, is that you have to have the ability to curate and say shortlist ideas, because my clients are not paying us based on the weight of the ideas that we're coming up with, the number of ideas. They're paying us based on the outcomes. And so each idea is taking me down to a different continent, and I have to be, so I kind of got rid of this. But now let's get into the creative guesses. And I want to draw a distinction between obvious guesses and creative guesses. So the creative guess over here is that they like volleyball. This sport is a derivative of volleyball, as you can make out from the images. So it's a reasonable creative guess that they like volleyball, but it's not an obvious guess, because I'm not 100% sure if everybody who likes this game also likes volleyball. But this creative guess actually opened up a whole new idea for me. And I'll tell you what it is. So it opens up a whole new avenue, which is that it opens up this question of of the people that buy this game, what percentage love volleyball? Because this will lead to some really interesting ideas. Because if someone doesn't like volleyball, let's look at a scenario where the person doesn't like volleyball. This is a really important data point for me, because let's say 20% of people that are coming to this page reject the product because they hate volleyball. Well, right now, there is no narrative. There is no story here for people who don't like volleyball. It's you see what you get. And I always want to, we already spent money to get these people to the website. They already like sports. They're very close to buying the product, but they don't like volleyball. And they're reject. So I would explore this with the client. This is part of the interrogation process. So there are two paths here. There are people that like volleyball, and I would come up with a slightly different story for them. Right now, these guys don't have multiple story versions. They should. This is active participation. So in my mind, I'm thinking okay, if someone likes volleyball, come up with a story for them. If they don't like volleyball, come up with a story with them. And there's a lot of complexity that comes in. I want to just talk about that. So what I did was I framed a question for the client. And one of our processes in CRO is that we actually do interrogation. So here's my question. I said to the client, because I know that they are available in Dick's Sporting Goods, which is a big retailer here in the US. So I said, you are at a sports trade show. Now, this is a very interesting thing as well. I don't just ask a question. I actually immerse the client in a scenario. So it's like a 3-dimensional experience. So I'm telling them, you are at a sports trade show and meet a buyer from Dick's Sporting Goods. And I say over here, assume you aren't in Dick's Sporting Goods, because I know they already are there. And the buyer says, when I say buyer, I'm talking about the store buyer, the one who buys for their retail stores, says, we already carry volleyball equipment. Why should we add CrossNet? What would you say to convince this buyer? What I'm trying to understand the client in their own words is, how would they position their product in contrast to volleyball? Because the thing that I don't want to do is for someone to come to this CrossNet product page and say, I really like volleyball. This is very similar to volleyball. I'm just going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods or somewhere online and just buy a volleyball net. Volleyball is our enemy here. We have to we can't just we can't just, so I want to see what the client says. Hopefully the client would have a very compelling response, because the reason is, how the hell did you get to Dick's Sporting Goods? If your product is exactly the same as volleyball, the Dick's Sporting Goods would not put you in their retail store. Clearly the client has a very good response for this buyer. And I want to get that response. I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to figure it out. I know the client has done the work, get the response from them. I should stop here for a second, Lorenzo.
Yeah, so a few points here. If you go back to my reviews mining, because I want to talk about volleyball, because it's almost like the elephant in the room here. So if you go in my reviews mining, there's this section still in the benefits section where we highlighted, what are the main benefits that people got from playing CrossNet. And there's a cohort of people that in the reviews said, I have improved my volleyball skills, right? So now what happens is, when analyzing the reviews, I went back to even 2019, 2020, even at the beginning of COVID, March 2020. And what I found out is that a lot of people actually bought it so they could put it in the backyard and play with either family members or neighbors to keep on improving on their volleyball skills, because maybe the volleyball tournament was canceled due to COVID, right? So now you have a cohort of people that not only likes volleyball, right? But all of a sudden, in the past 2 years, they couldn't play volleyball as much because they're, and I'm not talking about super professional athletes that, their job is to play volleyball. I'm talking about even like kids that play volleyball in high school, maybe like in the team of the neighborhood of the city and so on. So now you have that cohort of people that, because they couldn't play volleyball, they use that product as an alternative to play volleyball, to keep on improving. It's like, because obviously, playing volleyball is a muscle, right? For every single sport. If you can't go and play with your team, now you got CrossNet that can help you keep on pushing on your volleyball skills.
I want to kind of add something over here, which is that the way, and this is actually maybe it's a whole different episode actually, but I want to just mention an idea. So the way the consumer decides to buy something, it's not a binary decision. It's not like I'm going to buy, I'm not going to buy. You actually are doing stacking of yeses, right? So it's like these micro yeses. So if I come to this page and if I am kind of intrigued by the product, but I've now seen content that talks about how this, and I play volleyball, and I'm now seeing content that actually talks about how this, it helps me to, it doesn't compete against volleyball, for example, or it actually improves my volleyball game. I now have another micro yes to my brain. I'm debating. It's almost like I'm like negotiating with my brain, right? So what you've given me is one other data point that I can use. And all of these data points add up to a big yes. And another thing that they could have done, actually, they could have even said like, 72% of people that buy our product actually love volleyball, something like that, like, so you can use statistics as well to make the point. So that's exactly right.
Now, on the contrary, what if I still like volleyball, but I'm not good at it and I don't know how to play it?
That's right. So that's what I'm going to cover. That's what
really?
I'm going to cover. So the thing over here is that, so I want to just explain the strategy over here. So basically my idea is that somewhere on the page, and I would actually put this maybe I would put it somewhere, I would like maybe add some spaces over here and maybe put it here. I'm looking at the desktop version. Obviously this would apply for mobile as well. I would ask this question, do you play volleyball? Because I want to get to the heart of this matter right away. Because the thing is that if someone says no, then I'm actually going to give them an explanation that basically says this is nothing like volleyball, right? I'll talk about maybe and I think I covered this a little bit over here. Let's see. So for people that don't like volleyball, I might talk about things like, I'm not sure what the argument is, but I'm sure there's an argument there, and I would present that. But if someone says they like volleyball, I'm going to actually explore this idea, similar to what Lorenzo said. We need to show ways in which CrossNet is better than volleyball, because they already like volleyball. So now we're competing against volleyball. And so, yeah. So Lorenzo, do you want to add something, or should I move ahead?
Yeah, so the other thing, if you go in my reviews mining, there's a section called persona.
Yeah.
And there's this, it's not very high into like the kind of like all the different results. As you can see on the top, we have like, this product has been used from kids, like it's a family product, adults use it as well. As you can see, like a lot of different variety of people have bought it and used it. But there's three things that stand out here. I'm a volleyball player. So somebody that mentioned in the review that, hey, I'm a volleyball player, right? I have experience with playing volleyball. And also I'm a Foursquare player and lover, which is, on the website, they kind of like a frame and position CrossNet as a hybrid sport between Foursquare and volleyball. But there is a section here that I found that it was very interesting. A lot of people were saying, CrossNet could be played for, it's for people that have any sort of like skill, right? You don't need to have volleyball pro or have like super good physical kind of like a body and kind of like six pack in order to play it. In fact, here, as you can see, a lot of people were actually grandparents, because again, it's a family game also, not just like a kid's game, right? So now I wonder, and this is to me, that's kind of something interesting that I would dig a little bit deeper on, is among the people that have never played volleyball, right? Or have played volleyball, but they're not good at it. I wonder if they have the anxiety of, oh, I'm not going to buy it because I'm not good at volleyball. So now there's that anxiety that is going on in their brain. Is like, oh, they look at this product image and they're like, oh, okay, it looks like volleyball. It's similar to volleyball, but I'm not good at volleyball. I feel like I don't have the capacity and the skills to play volleyball. So there's an opportunity here to, and again, I would go deeper into understanding how big of an anxiety that is, and I'll try to kind of like respond to that anxiety.
You're exactly right, and you're exactly right. But I totally agree. But none of that is possible. None of that makes sense until we've actually had the user pick a choice, pick a path, right? So we need the user to say one of these, so we can then build the argument around it. Another creative guess that I made, and I just want to kind of really focus in on these creative guesses, is that they like burning calories. It's not an obvious guess. It's not. I don't know this for a fact, but it's reasonable to say that it's, any kind of sport you like to burn calories. Well, if that's the case, I would actually create content over here about how many calories you can burn in a game and the benefits of that. The other one, another creative guess I made was that they like new experiences. CrossNet is not, if this is a basketball game, I would have said that, that would be an irrelevant point. But CrossNet is something where I'm pretty confident that 90% of people in America, 100%, 95% of people have never seen it, right? So someone who's buying this is typically buying this because they like new experiences. But now this leads to a whole different piece of copy that we can write, because now we can talk about the joys and think about how we are framing this, the joys of experiencing something new. So I would actually come up with, I want to again show copy that this is a very crude copy, but I'll talk about it because I don't want to just talk in theoretical terms. I want to actually show you guys copy. So it says over here, there is an inexplainable joy that comes from first encountering a new sport, understanding the rules, sucking at it at first, because we always are terrible when we play something for the first time, noticing patterns and getting the hang of it. Remember learning to ride. Okay, so this is very interesting. So what I've done over here is that I'm trying to match the inner monologue that happens for the buyer, someone who's buying a new experience, who's kind of getting into a new experience. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Someone who's getting into a new experience understands the process of new experiences. Like I remember when I tried some new foods for the first time, I don't always like it, but I keep on trying it and I acquire a taste. There's a very standard arc that people relate to. So whenever my whole strategy for copywriting is to match the inner monologue that's happening in the mind of the buyer, right? And then over here,
and have the user go see, yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
I
right?
agree. I concur. And here, what we've done over here, this is a really important technique as well. We're using visualization because I want to always connect a new, because remember, these people have not played CrossNet. So I need to correlate playing a new sport to something that we can all relate to. So I thought about the idea of riding a bike for the first time. It's something that most of us relate to. So over here, I'm saying, remember learning to ride the bike for the first time. So again, I've taken the person on a nostalgic memory. Lorenzo, I'm sure you remember your experience riding a bicycle.
I do. It was in Tuscany.
It was what? Tuscany. Oh, nice.
I was in Tuscany, yeah.
And so over here, one of the joys of learning a new thing is just just figuring it out. So over here, I said the moment when you finally understood the science of balance. Now, again, I'm just using poetic license over here. That stays with us forever. So my point here is that I've come up based on the point here is that I've used a creative guess. And then based on a creative guess, I've thought of this idea of the joys of experiencing something new. This leap from here to here, I think there is some creativity involved there. I don't know how I came up with this idea. But once I had this, I was able to construct a piece of copy around it. You don't have to write 10 paragraphs. You don't have to write a whole product page on that one idea, but it's an idea that I wanted to cover. And so this is the core thing that I wanted to cover in my part. Lorenzo, you want to, there are a few other things I want to cover as well, but I want to give this back to you.
Yeah, I want to get into the product page and actually talk about a few things related to that. Can you actually, I mainly analyze mobile just because in my experience, I would say that most of the times websites have more traffic coming from mobile than desktop.
You're 100% right.
It's right, your experience as well. Sometimes even like 80%, which is huge, right? If you let's go into that. So I want to talk about the product images a little bit.
Okay.
If you make that a little, yeah, there you go, perfect. So a few things related to that I noticed. So first of all, just very small things. So first of all, that exactly what you're doing right there, that is not working. So it's and this is like, actually, people might think it's a small issue, but it's actually a big issue.
Huge deal.
Huge deal. Because I want to stress out, almost like in every episode, Rishi, the importance of product images. Seriously, if you guys put, like, if these guys have, I didn't check in my research process, but if these guys have a tool like Hotjar or kind of like any other tool that tracks heat maps and click maps, they probably will see that a lot of people are trying to click on those dots to explore more images and more photos of the product. And it looks like it's not possible to scroll and look at more images. So it's a bug that I would definitely fix. The other thing is just if okay, go back in desktop, because I wanna show the images that they display, since on mobile you can't see it. So they have a bunch of like context focused images. So they have a bunch of kids playing at the college, a bunch of people playing at the beach, and so on. Now, if you go into my reviews mining document, there's a section called context, and then there's a section called persona. So first, going to this, yeah. So this context basically displays the context where people have used the product, right? And there's a few things that are actually quite interesting. At the top, you see like garden and backyard, at the beach, which are kind of like two main ones, which are also the context that they have on the product page. But there is one that I thought it was very interesting, which is game night parties with friends. Here's why it's interesting. If you go into the persona section, sorry, not the persona, for which occasion? Yeah, so basically this section displays for which occasion you bought the product for, right? And the top two, they're talking about, oh, I bought it as a Christmas gift for X, Y, and Z. And the other one is, I bought it as a birthday gift for, my friend, a relative, and so on. Now, what I think it could be interesting for that cohort of people, that, again, I would probably want to understand a little bit more of how many people actually buy the product for that purpose, as a gift or a Christmas and birthday gift. But if there's that cohort is big, I would probably want to show some images of the product being used on family gatherings or birthday parties and so on. You can even display a photo of a girl or a guy that is about to open up that gift. There's a birthday gift, because what I found out from reviews mining is that there's a lot of like parents and grandmas that actually buy this product for their grandkids or for their kids. So now they like, imagine a grandparent.
Oh my God, I love it.
Right? Seeing that image of a kid opening up the package of CrossNet and seeing this smiling, a super happy face of that kid, is like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see my kid having the same face.
Genius. Yeah. Genius.
That's the other thing I noticed is that if you, like we showed earlier in the benefits section of my reviews mining analysis, we saw that a lot. Yeah, sure. So we saw that, the most common kind of like theme within this theme is that this game is so much fun, right? Now, if you go back to the product page, something that I notice is that the images of the people that are playing, they don't look like they're having a blast, right? The second thing I notice is that what happens if the user doesn't look at images, product images, like a mobile, because they can't, right? We noticed the bug. Now, if you scroll down, you see that there's like not a lot of images of people. Again, this is like, go back to that image shows just like normal people. They're not showing like how fun they're having. It's just like, and also if you scroll down again, there's not a lot of visuals of people playing. Yeah, maybe this part a little bit, but you can barely see the face of the person and how much fun is having, right?
That's a great point. I don't think I have seen a single person that's smiling.
Exactly. So I would try to cherry pick more photos related to kind of like this concept of like, oh, this game is so much fun. I'm having a blast.
I love that idea.
There's a few other things not really related to product pages that I want to talk about. But I would rather have you go to the other section, and then I'll jump in and talk about a few more like marketing opportunities, marketing ideas, not just related to product page optimization, but like as a business in general. But go back to your hidden asset section, and then we'll cover my section.
Yeah. So, I'm going to now with the next two sections I'm going to cover, I'm going to just breeze through them very fast, because really, if there's one thing that you take away, at least from my section in this episode, I really want to like draw attention to this ability to create these creative guesses and these obvious guesses. It's just incredible to me what kind of insights they lead to. So if that's what I would say, but I'm going to now talk about something that I noticed. So again, let's think about the anxiety of the buyer, right? So the anxiety of the buyer is, is this complicated? What is the score? I don't know. I still don't know, by the way. I've watched all the videos that they have. I still don't understand how the gameplay actually works. It's pretty complicated, actually. And in fact, it's complicated because in this explanation, I'm seeing a bunch of kids here. And then if it's really, I feel they've made it look much more complicated. I don't know, maybe it is truly a complicated sport, but what they say over here is that you can have more than 4 players, and then they're waiting outside, and then you have to rotate in a certain way. Look at all this. There's anxiety that's, I'm trying to buy something for $140 online, and I don't even understand the game. And I think that there is anxiety around that. I think that's to me is a central point. And what you'll notice over here is that they have a video. And so I call this a hidden asset. And the reason why is because one of the things that people would say is that, Rishi, this is super visible. I can tell you for a fact, I'm willing to bet $100 that less than 30% of people that come to this page actually click on this video button. And so just because something is on a page doesn't mean people notice it. They get distracted by multiple things. They might look at this, they just don't notice it. There is a fundamental issue with this video, which is, then I won't play the video, but clearly what they've done is, if you look at the length of the video, it's exactly 1 minute long. And the fact is that you cannot explain a sport, especially a new sport, in 1 minute. I mean, you can make it sound simple, but ultimately I'm not going to buy something because you've made it sound simple. I'm concerned about, I don't even know how many points there are and how the point system works. So I have a very simple solution for that. I'm not going to get into anything else except this point. So my solution is, programmatically, you can do this. It's not that complicated. You can put a script that says when the video reaches because we know it's a 1 minute video. So when the video reaches the 57-second mark, I want to show a prompt in the video. And the prompt will simply say, are you 100% clear on the gameplay? Because what I discovered was they actually have on their YouTube, they actually have a video, much longer video, 6-minute video. Again, this is a commercial playing, but it's a 6-minute video where they actually show the gameplay in much more detail. And so there are 2 types of people that are going to get to the end of the video. There are people that are going to get to the video and say, the skimmers will say, I know everything I need. I don't care about more information. But the last thing I want to do is for someone to come to the end of the video and say, I'm still unclear, because I can guarantee, Lorenzo, what do you think is going to happen if someone comes to the end of the video and they say, I'm still unclear about the gameplay?
They're not going to apply.
There's zero, 0% chance of them buying. Nobody in the history of the game is going to just buy it if they have that question. So what I want to do is, if someone says yes, we just show them this little this emoji. If they say no, I want to then load that 6-minute video. I still don't think that video is perfect either. I think even that video is kind of not great. But at least we would now have data. One of the things that we're doing as CROs is we're building data for our clients to build an argument. So I would be able to, first of all, show the client that 30% of people clicked on no. And then the client will freak out about that. Then I'll also be able to show that the second video it had some positive effect. And I'll be able to build a case that says, let's make a better video. Let's make a 20-minute video, dude. If someone is saying, here's the way I look at it, right? This person is raising the hand up and saying, I want to understand the gameplay. I now, as a marketer, no longer care about those research articles that say nobody watches the video more than a minute. Dude, if the person is saying that they want to understand the gameplay, that means they want to understand the gameplay. If it takes 20 minutes to explain it, make a 20-minute goddamn video. So that's my one idea. And then I just sorry, go ahead.
I have another idea I just thought about related to this, because this is a big anxiety. I agree around that. I actually think that another way to actually lower this anxiety and to actually help people reach the aha moment. And my assumption here is that the aha moment is, oh my God, I played for the first time the game in my life, and this game is so much fun, right? But in order to get there, they need to understand the rules, right? So I wonder how many people that buy it actually understand 100% about the rules, right? And if not, obviously, my assumption is a lot of people that buy it, they're not fully kind of clear about the rules. But I think there's an opportunity, Rishi, when you buy like a software, for example, I can't think of any example, but let's say HubSpot, right? When you buy a HubSpot, which is like, could be like thousands of dollars, they have the learning section, right? Where they teach you, step by step how to use every single feature of the product and what success looks like for the people that buy it, right? At the end of the day, we're buying software to achieve something, right? Same for CrossNet. I wonder, and this is not something that I discovered through my reviews mining process, but I wonder how much of a learning center they have after somebody buys it. And if they have a lot of it, which I hope they do, because again, it's going to help people actually achieve aha moment. If they do it, there's an opportunity to talk about it on the website, because what's happening is maybe you have that anxiety. Oh my God, I'm not fully understanding 100% what the game rules are. But now I know that once I get onboarded on the product and I buy the product, I have a full library of videos all dedicated around how to play the game with my friends. And
that's a really good point. Now I want to actually talk about something, and we always go into these really interesting tangents. Hopefully the listeners will find it interesting as well. So what Lorenzo is talking about is this library of content. Let's say that the CEO comes to us and says, guys, we did an analysis and we found that creating the library of content is what going to cost us $30,000. It's not worth it. And what they would say is that they would say our margin on this product, let's say they say it's 30%. And they would say, based on that margin, it doesn't make sense to create that content. I would give them a counter argument. Here's my counter argument. There are very few products in the world that are designed for virality. This product is designed for virality. If you're playing this game, people are seeing you play this game, which means that I would actually not worry about the margin per unit sold, because I'm actually more interested in the exponential growth of the sport. And so I would actually still create that educational content, even if it costs me $30,000, because it's such a, I would say that the viral coefficient for this product is like superbly high. And I would factor that into calculating, if I should invest in those assets.
You just served me 20 minutes of content on a silver platter, basically, because I want to talk about this whole aspect of virality that this product has.
Is there a document you want me to open, Lorenzo, or just?
Yeah, so please go into the into the CrossNet, reviews mining VOC. So what I've done here, if you want to make it a little bit bigger so everybody can see it. Yeah. So I basically called this document voice of the customer. So what I did here, I just grabbed voice of the customer straight from the reviews that I analyzed. So I want to talk about point 2, which is like referral and variety opportunities. So let's read out loud the first voice of the customer. We get stopped all the time on the beach with people asking us what we're playing and how many others stand and watch for a few minutes, right? So now imagine you have you're a little bee, like a little Indian bee at the beach in California, right? And you're actually seeing a bunch of people standing in front of CrossNet and looking at watching other people playing, right? So point number 1. Number 2, let's go through the voice of the customer number 2. So keep that thought into your brain. So the second one is almost everybody we have invited to play. Almost everyone we've invited to play it has or is now ordering their own. A must have. What's the aha moment? When do they start playing the game? So now my thinking here, we all know that people play the game at the beach. What if, Rishi, CrossNet added one more accessory into the packaging, right? And that accessory is a flag, like a small flag that you can put in the sand, right? And what you can put on that flag is actually a QR code, right? Now, all of a sudden, imagine the situation, right? I want you to picture the situation. We're all playing volleyball. Somebody comes in, oh, interesting, Now, if CrossNet actually starts developing a sort of like incentive program for the people that own the product, now they can put that flag into the sand with the QR code. And then all of a sudden, somebody comes in and asks, oh, what's this game? I want to learn more. They see this flag with the QR code. They could say, oh, learn more about the rules. Or if they stay even longer to say, oh, this sport looks fun. Now we could even show them like a coupon that they can redeem. And that coupon can take them to kind of like a product page of CrossNet and so on. Again, their customers who are playing the game are actually acquiring more customers for them. The other thought I had is let's look at the other context that I kind of like unveiled here, the birthday gift, right? So what happens is I wonder how many people that receive the product as a birthday gift actually start playing the game at a birthday party, right? Because all of a sudden, if a lot of kids that got it as a birthday gift start playing the game at the birthday party, now you have a bunch of people that start playing the game. Hopefully they're going to have fun. Hopefully they're going to have a blast. And again, if they're having a blast, it's very likely that they're going to go home and like, oh my God, I want that game as well. So again, another example of how you can plant virality into the product. You can even actually incentivize. I had this idea of imagine asking in the checkout or in the product page, is this product for a birthday gift or not? And if it's a birthday gift, you can even add additional incentive, right? You can even have like coupon or kind of like an add-on that you can give for free or something special that you can give as a birthday surprise or something, just to incentivize that behavior of playing the game in a birthday party.
I love it. I think these are great insights.
There's one more thing that this is more related to more like a marketing channel rather than a marketing kind of like a opportunity. So again, talking about birthday parties here, I wonder if CrossNet could partner up with I think they exist in the US because I remember hearing some people organizing it. But I think a lot of people hire a company to organize a birthday party for their kids. So now imagine, and what these people do, they bring a bunch of games at the birthday parties, right? Now imagine if CrossNet gave a CrossNet product away to the top franchisees of a bunch of companies that organize parties. Now, all of the sudden, they have all these franchisees that show up at people's house. They kind of like set up the CrossNet within like few minutes, actually like 5 minutes set up. And now kids start playing and they reach aha moment, they go home and they buy the product. Again, it's a bunch, especially in a situation like this right now where, you know, Facebook ads are super expensive, Instagram ads are super expensive. These could be definitely like a channel that I would explore further.
I love it. I think these are such interesting insights.
Yeah, that's kind of like all I got here, Rishi. It reminded me a little bit about Zoom, because Zoom is very similar to CrossNet, right? Like you invite people to use the product. The same thing for CrossNet.
That's right.
Virality planted into the product.
That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. In fact, that's exactly right. There's one section that I'll just cover real quick. So I want to talk about, we've already spoken about picture stories previously. I'm not going to get into all those details, but again, I think it's a lost opportunity when you have a visual element, which we know that people are going to be noticing, but there is no sales copy around it. So like even over here, I think this is the biggest mistake they've made. They're showing but there's no context here. So all I did was, it's very, very simple. I'll show you what I did. So I'll tell you a couple of things. One is that this image, I actually want to make this, I feel this image is better than this image. And I'll tell you why. This image shows a pretty big space. Most people don't have this. I don't know where the hell these kids are, but this is
I think it's in a college. I think it looks like in a college.
They could be college. But you know, if you're buying for kids, you really have limited space. I think this shows much more better use of space. Knowing that people will, we know that there's a drop off in images. People typically look at the first set of images more than the last set of images. I would actually move this as the first image, and I would convert it into a picture story, and I actually put text over here. Perfect for kids to burn calories in a socially distant way. Height can be adjusted, again, showing, the height aspect is very important with kids. And then you just need 12 feet of space, 12 by 12 foot space, because this, just reinforcing that point. Like for this image, what I did was, for this image, I converted this into an infographic, and now it says carrying backpack. It explains pump to inflate ball, all that. And over here, I'm saying this is sales copy. Total weight is 17 pounds for easy transportation, because the weight correlates to this image. And then for this image, what I found was lower on the page, they had this image, and I noticed that, how do I get there?
Yeah, there's a usability issue there.
Okay. I don't know how to get there. Okay. So in the image, I noticed that one of the kids, and I don't know why I can't see this anymore, but this kid on the left didn't have his shoes on, and this kid does have his shoes on. So what I did was, this kid, you can see, has no shoes on. So I just thought maybe this can be used for sales copy. I'm not sure, but I just put it with and without shoes. And then over here, I said perfect play. So I noticed one of the questions, the anxiety that I would have as a parent is that, is the net going to be too high for my kids? And I thought this image showed a higher net. So I simply said, perfect play, even if the net is taller than the players, because I don't want people to not buy it because they're like, oh, the net's too high for my kids. And then I noticed in one of the other images over here, I noticed they were showing this little anchor that they're using. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but there's this little device that they're showing on the background for stabilizing. And I was like, I don't want to pay extra for this, because on their website, they actually have another page for accessories, and they actually sell this for $120. And I was like, if I'm buying something $140, why the hell would I spend extra $120? And so I just, again, this is just a simple thing over here. I'm just simply saying those weights, and I pointed them, are totally optional. Our pole has been designed to be securely drilled into the ground, to say you don't have to buy them, and all right. So I'm just going to end there, but that's all I had.
Yeah, I love this episode, man. I think we covered a lot of different insights. I think that's all I got for myself today.
Awesome. I will go ahead and stop this. And guys, thank you very much for your time. And we will see you again soon.
Don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. Don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.